Confidence is not something that just appears one day, as if it were a gift wrapped up and delivered to you. It is built, layer by layer, through the way you carry yourself daily, through the decisions you make when no one is watching, and through the small choices that over time shape the way the world perceives you and the way you perceive yourself. And that is why acting as if you are the best is not about waiting until you feel confident, because waiting will keep you stuck. It is about creating confidence with your actions until your mind and body have no choice but to believe it. Because every time you choose to hold your head higher, every time you choose to speak with clarity instead of hesitation, every time you choose to take up space instead of shrinking into the background, you are sending a message not only to the people around you, but also to yourself. A message that says, I belong here, I deserve this, I can handle this. And in the repetition of that message, confidence is born. The mistake most people make is assuming that confidence is a feeling. But feelings are unreliable. They shift with moods, with doubts, with fears. And if you wait until you feel ready, you will wait your entire life. Because the truth is, you will never feel ready for the things that truly matter. You will never feel ready for the big opportunities. You will never feel ready to take the risk that could change your future. And you will never feel ready to stand in front of others and declare your worth. Because fear and doubt will always be whispering in your ear, but the way you silence those whispers is not by hoping they disappear. It is by acting anyway, by walking into that room as if you already earned your place, by speaking as if your words carry weight, by moving as if you are in control. And little by little your actions carve out a new identity, a stronger identity, a more certain identity that makes fear irrelevant. Think about the people you admire most, the ones who walk in and immediately command respect. It is not because they were born with something you don't have. It is because they built their confidence by showing up day after day in ways that told the world who they were. They didn't wait for approval. They didn't wait for validation. They didn't wait for the perfect timing. They decided to move first and let confidence grow from movement. And you can do the same. But it starts in the smallest details, in how you stand when you talk to others, in whether you make eye contact, in whether you let your voice trail off, or you finish your sentences with strength, in whether you walk with your shoulders back, or you fold into yourself trying not to be noticed. Because the truth is, you teach people how to see you with every signal you send. And if your signals show doubt, people will mirror that back to you. But if your signals show strength, they will respond with respect. Carrying yourself like the best is not about arrogance. It is about responsibility. It is about realizing that if you don't claim your space in this world, no one else is going to hand it to you. And the world is filled with people who are willing to settle for less, who are willing to keep their heads down, who are willing to stay invisible because they fear judgment. But if you choose to carry yourself differently, if you choose to act as if you belong wherever you go, if you choose to project confidence even in the moments you feel uncertain, you break that pattern. You start to train your own mind to expect more of you, to expect excellence, to expect power. And over time, that training transforms the way you think. Because confidence is not about the absence of doubt. It is about your ability to move despite it, to move as though the doubt doesn't matter. And here is the most important part. Confidence is not about proving anything to anyone else. It is about proving something to yourself. It is about proving that you can step up, that you can speak up, that you can take control. And once you start proving that to yourself consistently, you will notice that the way people respond to you changes. They will lean in when you talk. They will listen more closely. They will treat you with more weight. And it is not because they suddenly discovered your value. It is because you began carrying yourself as if you were valuable. And when you embody that, the world cannot help but adjust to it, because energy does not lie. And when your energy is strong and certain, it cannot be ignored. This is why confidence must be built daily, because every choice matters. Every time you choose to speak with strength instead of hesitation, every time you choose to walk tall instead of shrinking, every time you choose to make a decision instead of waiting for someone else to decide for you, you add another brick to the foundation of confidence. And over time, that foundation becomes unshakable. It becomes something you can stand on no matter where you go. And when you live from that place, you don't just feel confident. you become confidence itself. And when you become it, nothing and no one can take it from you. Believing you are the best is not about comparing yourself to anyone else. It is not about looking around and saying I am better than them. It is about refusing to shrink when life tests you. It is about refusing to hand over your power by doubting yourself before you even try. Because the truth is, in this world there will always be someone who is smarter, faster, stronger, more experienced. But that does not matter if you walk into every situation already believing you have what it takes to deliver. Because that belief is the difference between those who succeed and those who fold. The difference between the person who takes the opportunity and the person who talks themselves out of it. And when you act as if you are the best, you silence that voice that says you are not enough. You drown out the comparisons, and you move with certainty that forces people to pay attention. Too many people sabotage themselves by letting insecurity lead. They walk into a room already thinking about who is better. They see themselves at the bottom before the game even starts, and when you approach life from that posture, you are finished before you even begin. Because people can see it, they can sense it, they can smell hesitation, and the world reflects back to you what you project. So if you project doubt, people will doubt you. If you project weakness, people will treat you as weak. But if you project the energy of someone who knows they can handle whatever comes, people respond differently, opportunities open differently, respect follows differently. And this is why belief is so critical. Because before anyone else believes in you, you must teach them how by believing in yourself first. When you act as if you are the best, you are not saying you are perfect. You are not saying you have nothing left to learn. What you are saying is that no matter what happens, you trust yourself to adapt. You trust yourself to figure it out. You trust yourself to rise to the challenge. And that trust is powerful because it frees you from waiting until you know everything. It frees you from waiting until the path is safe. It frees you from waiting until you feel ready. And it allows you to step forward boldly into the unknown because you know that no matter what comes, you will find a way. And that is the mindset that separates leaders from followers, winners from spectators, the unstoppable from the uncertain. Think about the people who rise to greatness. It is never because they were flawless from the start. It is because they had the audacity to believe in themselves before anyone else gave them permission. They walked into auditions, boardrooms, competitions, and conversations with the energy of someone who belonged there. And that belief forced others to take them seriously. And once you understand that, you realize how much of success is not about skill alone but about belief. Because belief changes how you show up. Belief changes how you talk. Belief changes the risks you take, and belief changes the way others see you. And once you get that, you stop waiting for validation, you stop waiting for applause, you stop waiting for someone to tell you that you're ready, and you decide you are ready now. Believing you are the best is an internal discipline. It is choosing every day to affirm your value, to remind yourself of your strength, to push back against the negative voice in your head that tries to convince you otherwise, because that voice never goes away completely. It will whisper every time you step into a new arena. It will try to shrink you when you face new challenges, but your belief is what silences it. Your belief is what says, not today, not this time. I know who I am, I know what I bring, and I will not step aside. And when you practice that discipline daily, when you build that belief through repetition, it becomes natural, it becomes who you are, and it becomes impossible for anyone else to shake. Carrying that belief is also contagious. People feel it when you believe in yourself. They may not be able to explain it, but they sense it in your presence. They sense it in your energy. They sense it in the way you look them in the eye and don't flinch. And because of that, belief is not just something that protects you. It is something that influences others. It inspires them. It challenges them. It makes them reconsider their own limits. And that is why the strongest people are the ones who have mastered this art. Because their belief not only builds their own path, it creates space for others to rise with them. You have to remember, no one is going to hand you belief. No one is going to put it in your pocket and say, here, now you are ready. You have to decide it. You have to claim it. You have to fight for it when fear and doubt try to steal it from you. And that is what separates those who rise from those who stay stuck. Because every great achievement starts with someone who dared to believe before the world had proof. And that someone can be you if you stop waiting for permission. if you stop shrinking for fear of judgment, if you stop telling yourself stories that keep you small, and instead decide that from this moment forward you will carry yourself as if you are the best, not because you have nothing left to prove, but because you know you are more than capable of proving it. When you walk through life acting as if you are the best, the real power is not in arrogance. It is in the trust you place in yourself to adapt and figure things out no matter what happens, because life will never go exactly the way you plan it. Challenges will come, obstacles will show up, people will doubt you, circumstances will shift, and if your belief in yourself is conditional, if it only exists when things are easy, you will crumble the moment adversity knocks. But when you decide that you can handle anything, that you can bend without breaking, that you can adjust your approach, learn new skills, recover from failure, and still keep moving, you build a foundation that cannot be shaken. And this is what separates people who rise from people who remain stuck, because it's never the absence of problems that makes someone strong. It's their ability to face them with the confidence that no matter what comes, they will find a way. Think about how many people wait until they feel fully ready before they take the leap. They wait until they know all the answers, until the timing is perfect, until every fear has been silenced. But that moment never comes, and so they stay trapped in hesitation. They stay paralyzed by uncertainty. They convince themselves they need more preparation. But preparation is endless. There will always be more to learn, more to refine, more to build. And if you wait for perfection before you act, you will wait forever. Which is why the ones who win are the ones who move forward anyway. They trust their ability to adapt as they go. They believe they will figure out what they don't yet know. They step into opportunities even when they're not fully prepared, and that courage to act without guarantees becomes the very thing that sets them apart. Trusting yourself to adapt does not mean you never stumble. It does not mean you never fail. It means you refuse to let failure define you. You refuse to let mistakes paralyze you. Instead, you use them as information, as fuel, as lessons that sharpen your instincts and strengthen your resolve. And when you do this, when you stop fearing failure and start seeing it as a natural part of growth, suddenly the world opens up. Suddenly risks do not scare you in the same way. Suddenly setbacks are no longer permanent, and this allows you to push further, to take chances others avoid, to walk paths others are too afraid to try. Because you know that even if you fall, you will rise. Even if you get knocked down, you will find your way back stronger. And that resilience becomes your true advantage. There is a power in telling yourself, I can figure this out, because that simple belief changes everything about how you respond under pressure. Instead of shutting down when you don't know what to do, you stay open, you stay curious, you keep looking for solutions. And 9 times out of 10, you will find one. Not because you had all the answers from the start, but because you trusted yourself enough to keep going until the answer revealed itself. And that mindset builds a kind of quiet confidence that people can see. They can sense it in the way you handle stress, in the way you recover from challenges, in the way you carry yourself even in uncertainty. And that presence commands respect far more than talent alone ever could. People often misunderstand what it means to act as if you are the best. They think it means walking around with arrogance. But arrogance is fragile. Arrogance shatters the moment it is tested. Real strength is rooted in adaptability, in resilience, in the steady confidence of someone who knows they can handle whatever comes. And when you carry yourself this way, it intimidates insecurity. It silences doubt, it disarms manipulation, because people cannot shake someone who does not crumble under pressure. And that is what makes you unshakable, not perfection, but resilience, not knowing everything, but trusting yourself to learn anything. You have to remind yourself constantly that growth happens in motion, not in waiting. The person who is willing to step forward without guarantees, who is willing to adapt, who is willing to take risks, that person will always outpace the one who waits for certainty. And once you embrace that truth, you stop wasting energy trying to control every outcome. You stop exhausting yourself with the illusion of safety. And instead you focus on building the only thing that truly matters, the ability to adjust, to persist, to keep moving forward. And that ability is what will carry you through storms that break others. This mindset is a daily discipline, because every time you step into a new arena, fear will whisper again, doubt will try to creep in. The voice in your head will tell you you're not ready, and in those moments you must remind yourself, I don't need to know everything. I just need to know I can figure it out. I don't need to be perfect. I just need to be persistent. I don't need guarantees. I just need the courage to move. And that repetition builds strength. It carves out a new mental pattern. It reprograms you to respond with faith instead of fear, with courage instead of hesitation, with resilience instead of retreat. And once you've built that pattern, it becomes who you are. It becomes your nature to adapt, to adjust, to rise. The truth is, life will never reward the person who knows the most but hides in the corner. It will reward the person who dares to step into the arena, who carries themselves with belief even when the odds are stacked, who trusts themselves to adapt when the plan falls apart. And if you can be that person, if you can choose to believe in yourself not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard, then you have already won. Because no obstacle, no failure, no setback can permanently stop someone who trusts their ability to keep going. The most powerful shift you will ever make is to carry yourself as if you already belong at the top table. Because when you walk into any room, any challenge, any opportunity with the certainty that you are meant to be there, people respond differently to you, not because you announced it, not because you boasted about it, but because energy does not lie. People feel the presence of someone who moves with assurance, and it is this unspoken strength that begins to change the way you are perceived and treated, because the world mirrors back what you project, and when you project self-assurance, you naturally invite respect, influence, and authority. You must understand that self-assurance is not about speaking louder than everyone else. It is not about forcing others to see you a certain way. It is about the quiet steadiness in your posture, the conviction in your eyes, the certainty in your tone when you speak. It is about the absence of desperation, the absence of needing approval, the absence of trying to prove your worth. Because real strength does not beg, it does not chase, it does not perform to be noticed. It simply exists and lets its presence be undeniable. And when you act as if you are already the best, you no longer scramble for validation. You simply carry yourself with the confidence that you are enough as you are, and that belief reshapes everything around you. Think about how most people give away their power without even realizing it. They enter situations already doubting themselves, already apologizing for taking up space, already lowering their standards just to fit in. And the moment you show the world you do not believe in yourself, the world reflects that back to you. People treat you based on how you treat yourself. If you act uncertain, they will doubt you. If you act timid, they will dismiss you. But if you carry yourself with the certainty that you belong, even when you're new, even when you're learning, even when you're untested, people begin to see you through the lens you have chosen for yourself. And that is the secret of presence. It begins with you before it ever reaches them. There is nothing more magnetic than someone who does not need to convince anyone of their worth. Because confidence is not about noise, it is about energy. It is about the unshakable calm of someone who knows they are valuable, whether anyone acknowledges it or not. And that kind of energy cannot be faked. It is felt, and it draws people in because most people live in self-doubt, most people crave approval, most people chase recognition. So when they encounter someone who is grounded in their own value, it creates a gravity, a pull that others can't help but respond to. And this is why the act of carrying yourself with certainty is more powerful than words, because people respond not to what you say about yourself, but to how you embody who you are. You need to understand that people are constantly scanning you, consciously and unconsciously. They are reading your body language, your tone, your movements, and deciding in seconds whether to respect you or dismiss you, whether to trust you or question you, whether to follow you or overlook you. And those decisions are rarely based on your talent alone. They are based on your presence, the energy you project, the assurance you carry. And this is why it is not enough to simply be skilled or intelligent. You must pair that with the ability to project self-assurance. Because without it, even the most talented person will be overlooked. But with it, even someone still learning will be given opportunities. Because presence makes others believe in you even before you've proven yourself. Carrying yourself with self-assurance does not mean you will never feel insecure. It does not mean you will never feel fear. It means you will not let those emotions dictate how you move. You learn to feel fear without showing fear. You learn to feel doubt without embodying doubt. You learn to hold yourself steady even when the ground beneath you is shaking. Because the truth is, everyone feels insecurity. Everyone feels uncertainty. But the ones who rise are the ones who refuse to let it leak into their presence. They control what they project. They discipline their body, their voice, their energy, until their inner steadiness becomes unshakable, and that steadiness becomes a shield that protects them from being underestimated. This is why you must practice carrying yourself as if you are already where you want to be, not in arrogance, but in quiet certainty. You must walk into every room with your head high, your shoulders back, your energy grounded, because even before you say a word, you have already spoken volumes about yourself. And this practice of embodying assurance rewires your own mind as well. It convinces not just others but yourself. Because the way you move begins to tell your brain a story, the story that you are capable, that you are enough, that you are already worthy, and over time, that story becomes truth, not because of some illusion, but because repetition creates belief, and belief transforms reality. The greatest mistake you can make is waiting for external success to give you internal assurance, because success does not build confidence. Confidence builds success. You must decide to carry yourself as if you are already worthy before the world ever validates it, because if you wait for recognition, you'll always be dependent on others. But if you decide that your presence is already enough, that you belong wherever you choose to stand, then you begin to move differently. And those movements create opportunities. Those opportunities create results, and those results reinforce the confidence you already carried. And that is how power compounds, not by waiting for permission, but by embodying assurance before anyone else sees it. So carry yourself today as if you already belong where you dream of being, because people will believe in you only after you have believed in yourself. They will respect you only after you respect yourself. They will value you only after you embody value in your own actions. And once you understand this, you realize that self-assurance is not arrogance. It is alignment. It is the decision to show up as if you are already the best, not because you are comparing yourself to others, but because you are committed to showing up fully as yourself without apology, without hesitation, and without shrinking. And that is the most powerful message you can ever send without speaking a single word. Most people spend their lives trying to be noticed, trying to stand out by what they say, by what they show off, by what they do to convince others they matter. But the truth is, the most powerful presence in any room is not the one making the most noise. It is the one who doesn't need to convince anyone of anything. Because confidence is never about trying to prove yourself. It's about the energy you carry when you already know who you are. And that energy doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need to chase approval. It doesn't need to announce itself. Because it is undeniable without words. It is a quiet, unshakable force that pulls respect and attention without ever asking for it. There is something magnetic about the kind of presence that doesn't try too hard. Because most people are used to seeing desperation in others. They're used to people trying to impress, trying to gain favor, trying to be chosen. And so when they encounter someone who doesn't move from a place of need, but from a place of certainty, it feels different, it feels rare. And rare always commands value, because people don't trust words nearly as much as they trust energy. They may listen to what you say, but they believe what you project. And when you project calm certainty, it tells them more about you than any explanation ever could. It tells them you're steady, you're grounded, and you don't require their validation to exist fully. Think about the people who command the most respect in your own life. It's not always the loudest person. It's not always the one who brags or dominates the conversation. It's the one who walks into the room and everyone feels something different. The one who doesn't need to chase attention, because attention naturally shifts toward them. The one who doesn't need to argue for their value, because their presence makes it obvious. And that's because true confidence is quiet. It doesn't compete. It doesn't force. It doesn't plead. It simply stands, and in standing firmly, it makes others rise to meet it. This is the kind of influence that cannot be faked, because it comes from the inner work of truly believing in yourself. Most people confuse arrogance with confidence, but they are complete opposites. Arrogance is rooted in insecurity. It shouts because it is afraid of being overlooked. It demands because it fears being rejected. It tries to dominate because deep down it feels powerless. But confidence is rooted in security. It doesn't need to announce itself because it already knows its value. It doesn't need to dominate because it doesn't see others as threats. It doesn't need to chase because it doesn't need anything outside itself to feel complete. And when you carry that kind of confidence, people feel safe around you. They respect you because they sense you cannot be easily shaken, you cannot be easily manipulated, you cannot be easily controlled. This kind of quiet confidence creates a ripple effect in every part of your life. In relationships, it makes people respect your boundaries without you having to argue for them, because your energy communicates that you respect yourself. In your career, it makes people see you as capable even before you've proven yourself, because the steadiness in how you carry yourself convinces them you can handle responsibility. In challenges, it gives you the edge because you approach problems without panic, without the desperation that clouds judgment, and instead you move with calm assurance that you will figure it out. And that assurance makes others trust your leadership, follow your guidance, and lean into your stability when they don't have their own. Carrying quiet confidence is also the best defense against toxic people, because toxic people thrive on insecurity, they thrive on weakness, they thrive on doubt. When they sense desperation, they exploit it. When they sense need, they manipulate it. But when they face someone who does not need them, someone who is not looking for their approval, someone who is not afraid to walk away, their power evaporates. They cannot control what is self-assured. They cannot shake what is steady. They cannot exploit what is not hungry for validation. And that is why your quiet confidence is not just a tool for influence, it is also your protection. It is your shield. It keeps you from being pulled into games that others try to play, and this is not something you fake for a moment. It is a practice. It is a discipline. It is built over time by showing up for yourself again and again, by proving to yourself that you can trust your own strength, that you can survive failure, that you can walk alone if you must. Because when you have gone through enough and discovered that you are still standing, still breathing, still moving forward, you develop a different kind of presence, the kind that doesn't panic anymore, the kind that doesn't beg anymore, the kind that doesn't need to explain itself anymore. Because you have already seen your own resilience, and that memory of survival becomes the root of your confidence. The quiet confidence does not mean you never speak. It means when you do speak, your words carry weight, because they are not thrown carelessly. They are chosen, they are intentional, they are backed by the steadiness of someone who does not need to convince. And that is why people listen, because they can feel the difference between words that come from insecurity and words that come from assurance. One tries to prove, the other simply states, and people naturally gravitate to the one that feels grounded, because in a world full of noise, silence backed by certainty is the loudest thing of all. So you must learn to embody this kind of presence, the kind that walks into a room and doesn't ask, doesn't beg, doesn't chase, the kind that simply exists with strength, because that is how you claim space without force. That is how you command respect without demand. That is how you influence without manipulation. And that is how you protect yourself without walls. You become the steady force that others cannot shake. And once you understand this, you will never again try to prove your worth to anyone, because your very presence will already say everything that needs to be said. Most people think success is about being the loudest, being the most visible, or being the one with the most recognition. But the truth is, success in its purest form comes from consistency, from the ability to show up again and again, no matter how tired, no matter how overlooked, no matter how many times you're tempted to quit. Because while talent may give you an advantage in the beginning, it is consistency that makes you unstoppable in the long run. The people who build something meaningful are not the ones who sprint once and collapse. They are the ones who keep walking, step by step, day by day, building momentum that eventually becomes impossible to ignore. Consistency is not glamorous. It doesn't feel exciting every single day. In fact, most days it feels ordinary, boring even. But that's the secret. That's where the power is. Because anyone can show up when they feel inspired. Anyone can put in the work when it's exciting. But very few can keep going when it feels repetitive, when it feels like nobody is watching, when it feels like the effort is invisible. And yet that is exactly when the foundation is being laid. It is in those hidden moments, when nobody applauds, when nobody notices, when nobody encourages you, that your character is being built and your resilience is being forged. Think about it. How many people start something and never finish? How many people get excited about a new project, a new habit, a new goal, and then fall off after the first obstacle, after the first wave of discomfort, after the first test of patience? The truth is, most people quit too soon. They expect immediate results. They expect instant recognition. and when it doesn't come, they walk away. But the ones who endure, the ones who keep showing up no matter what, they become the ones who are remembered, because the world eventually pays attention to those who refuse to disappear. Consistency also builds trust, not just with others but with yourself, because every time you keep a promise to yourself, every time you do the thing you said you would do, you strengthen the belief that you can rely on you. And that is one of the most powerful forms of confidence there is, when you don't need anyone else to validate you, because your own track record proves that you are reliable, that you are capable, that you are committed. You stop questioning yourself, you stop second guessing, because you know you will follow through. And when others see this in you, they respect it, they trust it, because reliability is rare, and what is rare is always valuable. But consistency also requires discipline, and discipline is something most people avoid because it feels restrictive, it feels heavy, it feels like sacrifice. But in reality, discipline is freedom, because when you discipline yourself to stay consistent, you free yourself from the chaos of starting over, you free yourself from the pain of regret, you free yourself from the weakness of giving in to every feeling, and instead you build a life that reflects your effort, your endurance, your focus. And that is a kind of freedom that people who quit will never experience, because they will always be trapped in cycles of starting and stopping without ever seeing results. It is important to understand that consistency is not about perfection. It is not about never missing a day, never making a mistake, never falling short. It is about the decision to return every single time. It is about the choice to get back up after you stumble, to recommit after you slip, to realign after you drift. Because what separates those who succeed from those who fail is not that the successful never fell. It is that they never stayed down. They always came back. And over time, that relentless return builds momentum that becomes impossible to stop, and consistency compounds, just like money compounds in an investment account. Your actions compound in your life. One workout doesn't change your body, but hundreds over time transform it. One honest conversation doesn't rebuild trust, but showing up with honesty again and again restores it. One day of effort doesn't create success, but years of effort stack into results that cannot be ignored. And this is what most people don't understand. They underestimate the power of small actions done consistently, and so they quit too early, never realizing they were only a few repetitions away from a breakthrough. When you embrace consistency, you also become someone who cannot be easily broken, because you've trained yourself to keep moving no matter what. You've trained yourself to push through boredom, to push through doubt, to push through fatigue, and that endurance makes you dangerous in the best way. Because while others rely on motivation, you rely on discipline. While others stop when they don't feel like it, you keep going. While others are shaken by every obstacle, you are steady. And that steadiness gives you the edge. It makes you unshakable. It makes you unstoppable, because nothing external has the power to break the rhythm you've built. So when you think about being the best, don't just think about talent. Don't just think about passion. Don't just think about skill. Think about consistency. Think about how often you show up. Think about how many times you refuse to quit, because that is what will separate you from the rest. Not the big moments, not the loud victories, but the daily choice to keep going, to stay committed, to stay disciplined. And if you can master that, you will rise above most, because while talent fades and motivation shifts, consistency endures, and the one who endures always wins in the end. When you act as if you are the best, you begin to carry yourself with a standard that leaves no room for mediocrity, because the truth is people treat you the way you teach them to. And if you show up small, if you show up uncertain, if you show up apologizing for your presence, you invite others to see you as less. But the moment you step into a room as if you belong there, the moment you move with certainty instead of hesitation, the energy shifts, the dynamic changes, and suddenly others have no choice but to respect the way you carry yourself. Confidence is contagious, and it speaks louder than any words you could ever say, because people may not always remember what you told them, but they will remember how you made them feel. And when you walk in with the quiet but undeniable energy of someone who knows their worth, who does not seek approval but instead radiates self-assurance, you make others feel that they are in the presence of strength, and strength cannot be ignored. It demands attention without asking for it. It commands respect without begging for it. It creates authority without forcing it. Acting as if you are the best doesn't mean arrogance. It doesn't mean looking down on others. It doesn't mean thinking you are above anyone. It means standing tall in the truth that nobody is above you. It means knowing that your voice carries weight, that your presence matters, that your contributions are valuable. And when you start to see yourself this way, you begin to create opportunities that never existed before. Because opportunities flow toward confidence, not insecurity. Doors open for people who move as if they deserve to walk through them. Think about how many times people miss out on something because they shrink, because they hesitate, because they question themselves. Not because they weren't good enough, but because they didn't act like they were. And the world didn't believe in them simply because they didn't believe in themselves. But when you act like you are the best, people believe it too, not because you lied, but because your energy communicates certainty, and human beings are drawn to certainty. We follow those who lead themselves. We respect those who own their space without apology. You have to understand that most people are not confident. Most people doubt themselves constantly. Most people are waiting for someone else to tell them they're worthy. So when you are the person who decides you're worthy first, when you're the one who decides you are enough without external validation, you stand out immediately because you've broken free of the trap that keeps most people silent, invisible, and afraid. And the moment you choose to own your value, you rise above the noise of hesitation. And that is exactly why acting as if you are the best sets you apart from the rest. But acting as if you are the best also means raising your standards. It means holding yourself accountable. It means deciding that mediocrity is not an option, because you cannot carry the energy of greatness if your actions contradict it. You cannot walk around acting confident while secretly cutting corners, while avoiding responsibility, while refusing to put in the work. Because true confidence comes from alignment. It comes from knowing that you've done what others won't do, that you've prepared when others were distracted, that you've pushed yourself when others quit, and that alignment allows you to act with certainty without it being fake, because you know you've earned it. And here's the truth: when you act as if you are the best, you inspire others to do the same. You give people permission to stop hiding, to stop apologizing, to stop living small, because confidence is not just personal, it is social. It sets a tone. It changes environments. It shows others what is possible when you stop waiting for approval and start moving as if you are already worthy. And sometimes the most powerful gift you can give to people around you is the example of someone who refuses to shrink. This kind of presence also protects you, because people who carry themselves with certainty are far less likely to be manipulated, far less likely to be controlled, far less likely to be dismissed, because manipulators thrive on weakness. Controllers thrive on doubt. Dismissive people thrive on insecurity. And when you walk into any environment radiating self-assurance, it becomes very difficult for anyone to play games with you, because you've made it clear you know who you are, and you will not negotiate your worth. Acting as if you are the best is not a mask. It is not pretending. It is not lying. It is choosing to live from the highest version of yourself even before the world recognizes it. It is stepping into the reality you want before the evidence shows up, because energy precedes results. Belief precedes achievement. Certainty precedes success. And if you wait for external proof to believe in yourself, you'll be waiting forever. But if you choose to carry yourself with the strength of someone who already is enough, who already is powerful, who already is worthy, then slowly the external world begins to reflect that back to you. So when you walk into that room, when you start that project, when you face that challenge, don't shrink, don't apologize, don't hesitate. Act as if you are the best, because that energy will create opportunities. It will attract respect. It will protect you from doubt. And it will make people see you for what you truly are. Someone who knows their worth, someone who refuses to settle, someone who is unshakable. And when you live that way, not only do you rise above, but you inspire others to rise with you. And that is how you transform not only your own life, but the environment around you. When you act as if you are the best, there will always be people who misunderstand you. There will always be those who call you arrogant, those who call you too much, those who will try to pull you back down into the box they feel comfortable keeping you in. Because when you begin to carry yourself differently, when you stop apologizing for your presence, when you step into a level of confidence that others have never seen before, it makes them uncomfortable, and that discomfort reveals more about them than it does about you. because people who haven't claimed their own power will always be threatened by the person who does. And you must understand that their opinion is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to yourself, to walk in alignment with your truth even when others do not understand it. You cannot build your life on the approval of others, because approval is fleeting. It shifts with moods, with jealousy, with misunderstanding, and if you anchor your worth to how others see you, you will always be at their mercy. But when you decide that you are the best version of yourself, when you carry yourself as someone who deserves respect, love, and opportunity, you no longer wait for others to validate you, you validate yourself. And in that moment, you take back all the power you once gave away to other people's opinions, and that is one of the most liberating choices you will ever make. But here's the truth. When you decide to embody this kind of confidence, you will be tested. Life will send you critics, doubters, and sometimes even people close to you will question why you've changed. They'll say you're not the same, that you're acting differently. And they'll be right, you are different, because you've chosen growth. And growth is threatening to people who want to stay the same. So you must prepare yourself for resistance, not as a reason to shrink, but as proof that you're stepping into a higher level of living. And if you can withstand that resistance without breaking, you will come out stronger, sharper, and more unshakable. This is why resilience is so critical when you act as if you are the best, because confidence without resilience will crumble at the first sign of criticism. But when you've built the muscle of resilience, when you've trained yourself to take criticism without letting it pierce your self-worth, you become unstoppable, because you're no longer playing to win approval. You're playing to win on your own terms. And that is a game very few people know how to play, because most people are too busy seeking applause instead of building inner certainty. Another truth is this: acting as if you are the best requires consistency. You cannot show up confident one day and crumble the next. You cannot project strength in one moment and then let doubt own you the moment something doesn't go your way. Because confidence is not just an act, it is a lifestyle. And a lifestyle is built through repetition, through daily choices, through the way you show up not only in big moments, but in small ones too. Because the way you carry yourself in private is the foundation for the way you carry yourself in public. And if you want to radiate unshakable strength, it begins with the habits you practice when no one is watching. And do not mistake this kind of confidence for perfection, because it has nothing to do with being flawless. In fact, it is the opposite. True confidence comes from embracing your flaws, owning your imperfections, and refusing to hide behind masks. Because when you accept yourself fully, when you stop trying to prove and start simply being, that is when your presence becomes magnetic. That is when others begin to respect you deeply, not because you're pretending to be perfect, but because you've had the courage to own yourself exactly as you are. And very few people have that kind of courage. Remember this: the world rewards those who act with certainty, not those who sit in hesitation. Opportunities will not wait for you to feel ready. Doors will not remain open until you finally decide you're good enough. Life does not pause for your doubts, and if you keep waiting for perfect timing or absolute confidence, you will miss the very moments that could have transformed your life. So the secret is to move first, to act as if you are the best even when fear is whispering in your ear. And when you do, you'll discover that the courage comes after the action, not before. This is why acting as if you are the best is not arrogance. It is survival, it is strategy, it is a way of building momentum in a world that will gladly keep you small if you let it. Because every time you choose to show up as if you are worthy, you prove to yourself that you can handle more. And every time you prove it, you build evidence for your own greatness, and that evidence begins to silence the inner critic that once held you back, until one day you realize that acting as if you are the best has become more than just an act. It has become who you are. So when people doubt you, when they misunderstand you, when they call you names, let them. Because their opinion doesn't define you. Your actions do, your consistency does, your courage does. And as long as you continue to walk with the energy of someone who knows their worth, you will rise, no matter who tries to stand in your way. Because people can argue with your words, they can question your choices, but they cannot deny the energy of someone who refuses to shrink, who refuses to apologize, who refuses to live small. And that is the energy you must carry. Always act as if you are the best until the world has no choice but to see it too.